Hello, members of the Keter Society. This is part one of the new mini-series called Running an Engaging Seder. In the first part, I'll be focusing on practical suggestions specifically for toddler and elementary school age kids. At the core of creating an engaging experience is creating a situation that everyone is both mentally and emotionally actively anticipating or even actively searching for what lies ahead. That creates a very attentive experience. I'd like to give two examples which I've used to create that kind of atmosphere. The first example I used to create a certain anticipation is that I create a certain character of a child in Egypt, and at the beginning of Magid, I speak in the first person. I tell out his story. The character I personally use is a character of Yosef, and I describe very colorfully. I describe his family. I describe how many children in their family. I describe the parents. I describe our situation. And I create, as much as possible, some side stories. As any engaging story has more, the more descriptive it is, the more engaging it is. And using Midrashim, I try to walk through the beginning of the story. This, for myself, is a story which actually has traveled already 8 years, and it's been an ongoing story. I don't tell the entire story. I don't expect at the beginning to be able to hold people in place for more than 10 minutes. Okay? But I describe relationship with his friends, even another family of his best friend who may have taken a different path and might have ended up by the Erev Rav. They didn't follow Moshe. And so at the beginning of Magid, I essentially create this person and I create the beginning of the story, and then throughout the Seder, this person's experience through the Midrashim of different parts of Yetzias Mitzrayim come up in their due time. Meaning, besides just speaking about, let's say, one of the Makos, I might talk about some of the Midrashim of what I'm experiencing as Yosef in this type of situation. Or I might describe myself peeking in through the window and watching Paro go through some sort of thinking process or as he's experiencing it. Or so I'm trying to tell the story, the Sipur of Yetzias Mitzrayim, in first person through the eyes of a child. The truth is, when my children were very, very young, I actually said that I was in Mitzrayim, and I told it in first person. But as they outgrew that and realized that I myself was not actually in Yetzias Mitzrayim and alive at the time of Mitzrayim, then I was able to shift over to be telling someone else's story. But this essentially kept my kids anticipating, as we went through the Seder, hearing the continuation of this story, to such an extent that they always are excited at the beginning of the pre-Seder to hear where the story is going to pick up from last year. Second example I want to use, which has to do with the other aspect, not anticipation, but searching, is at the beginning of the Seder, I create a list of terms and I give each child, based on their age, what's appropriate for them, a different list of either props or terms which they have to be able to call out and realize, okay, and that keeps them attentive as they search to call out when these ideas come up. I might, for a younger child, give something simple like frogs or matzah, okay, so that they're searching for that. For someone who's a little bit older, I might give something like Kriyat Shema, or I might give one of the personalities, Rabbi Akiva, or I might give B'nai Brak. And so each child will have different terms or ideas or props which they have to pull out, and then depending on what you have to give out as prizes at the table, whether it's nuts or whether it's candy or whether it's marshmallows. So some of it comes as a response to them being able to search out and find things, and that usually keeps the kids, from my experience, very engaged and attentive throughout the entire Seder. So that's for that age. These are some ideas which I've used of keeping children who are younger, much younger, engaged. And the truth is, each of these ideas works well at every age. You just change the story and you change the things which are being searched for depending on their age. So that was some Eitzah, B'Hatzlacha Rabbah, and have a Chag Kosher V'Sameach.